you state two periods in history. The two periods in history, we said we have the prehistory, and the prehistory we said this is the history before the history, or rather that relies on the excavated materials and the fossils. Number two is the history, and history is a study of present times. You study the present times. Basically, that is the two periods. So today, on the lesson 2, we are going to focus on the same chapter, chapter 1, on introduction on history and government, and the subtopics that we are going to dwell on is the importance of history and government. And therefore, we shall see the meaning of government and the types of government. So, the importance of history. Why do we study history and government as a subject? Or rather, why do we say that history and government is a living subject? Number one, both history and government, it helps us to learn about the culture, economic and political organization of different people. We say that history is broadly divided into 3. That is the socio, economic and political history. And therefore, by studying history as a subject, you are able to learn about the culture, the economic and the political organization of different people. Number 2, it helps us to appreciate the values of others and their contribution to civilization. So the history will inculcate, or rather will instill some values of others. Therefore, you are able to appreciate these values and the contribution to the civilization. The way people are, they are as the result of the past. And therefore, you are able to appreciate this past, the values and the contribution to the civilization. Number 3, it develops the capacity for the critical analysis of historical data. Because now you become a historian by studying history, you are able to develop a great capacity to have a critical thinking or a critical analysis of the historical data. Any historical data that you come across, you are able to critically analyze them so that you can be able to understand the past. Number 4, history and government. It helps to study the structure of government and why we need a government. One is able to have, or rather to know the importance of the government, why we need the government, and also the structure of the government, which are basically divided into 3: the judiciary, the parliament or legislature, and the executive. You are able to know the structure of any government setup. Next, on the importance of studying history. Why we study history and government? You understand by studying history, especially the government, you are able to understand how laws are made and implemented. You are able to understand that the laws are made by the legislature and they are implemented by the executive arms of the government. So you get to understand how the laws are made in any country. And next, on the reason why we study history, you help us to understand our rights. By studying history and the government, you are able to understand our rights and the responsibilities as the citizens. Because history, you study the human beings, you study the government setups, and you study the constitutions, you are able to understand the rights and the responsibilities of the citizens of the country. Next, when you study history, by studying history and the government, you have a sense of identity, to know who we are and where we are at the present. Because in history, you will actually study the past, the present, and the future. So by studying the past, present, and the future, you are able to develop a sense of identity. You know who you are. You know where you are at the present, because the present is as a result of the past. Well, number next on why we study history and government, it promotes national and international unity. We learn about interdependence. So by studying history and the government, you'll be able to understand the nations, how the nations operate, how they relate, how they interact, and therefore by this, you are able to have a national and international unity. It promotes the national and international unity. And again, one of the goals of education, for example, in Kenya, it is promote the national and international unity. So by studying the history and the government as the subject, it promotes the national and international unity. Next, history and government, it is a career subject. And the career subject, this is where you can be able to have a wide scope of careers that you can choose from history and the government. For example, by studying history and the government, because you understand the government and how laws are made, you can choose law, or rather you can become lawyer because you study history and the government. You can also become a teacher like me. You can pursue teaching on history, on the same history and the government. Another career that you can come or you can accrue when you study history is you can become an anthropologist. There is an anthropology. We're going to study the anthropology, which is actually the study of the culture of people. So, and many other. So there are so many careers that you can get from history. So therefore, history is a career subject. Lastly, history and government develop a sense of patriotism and the national pride. So by studying history and the government, you are able to study the human beings in the past, present, and the future. So you're able to develop a sense of patriotism. You're able to love your own country. You're able to have a nationalistic attitude, or rather the national pride. You're able to say that this is your own country because you understand how it was formed. So basically, these are the importance, or rather the reasons why history is very, very important. But let us go to the next part of history, and that is the meaning of government, because the subject is history and government. So let us see, having looked at the meaning of history and why we study history and government, let us see the meaning of government. So the government comes from a word, actually an English word, to govern. And the to govern means to rule. You rule, that is actually the government. So the government basically refers to the governing body of a nation, state, or a community. So it refers to the governing body. So the people who are chosen so that they can be able to rule the nation, a state, or a community. It is a system by which a state or a community is controlled. So a state, nation, or a community is controlled, and it is controlled by one person, and this is the ruler. The ruler is surrounded by other people, and therefore are able to rule the subjects, or rather the citizens. So basically, this is the government. So we can have some types. There are basically 3 types of government or more. There are various types of government, and we are going to mention but a few. These types of government are: 1, democratic government. This type of government, it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And this government, or rather this definition, was given by Abraham Lincoln was given by Abraham Lincoln. So the rulers in the democratic government, they have to consult. They consult the public regularly through the popular vote, or rather the plebiscite. Number 2 types of government, mentioning but a few, we have aristocratic government. The aristocratic government is another type of government, and this government, it is a government of a group of rich people in the society. So a group of rich people in the society, when they form a government, that type of government is known as aristocratic. And this group of rich people, they are known as the aristocrats. We have another one. Another number 3 types of government. We have the monarchical government. The monarchical government is a type of government with a king, not a king, a king or a queen as the head of state. It is a government where we have a queen or a king, a monarch is a king or a queen as the head of state. He is the one ruling. A ruler in this government is a king or even a queen. Talk of, for example, in England, we have Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth is the head of state in England. So this type of government where there is a king or a queen, we call it monarchical government. So basically this one can be summarized as follows. It can be summarized as follows. And this one, you can see the summary of the types of the government in terms of who rules. Because we have said in the government we have a ruler. So we have another government that is known as the anarchy. Anarchy is where there is no anybody who is ruling. Nobody who is ruling. That type of government that is a bit chaotic, it is known as the anarchy. There is no ruler, no one who is ruling. We have other government which have one ruler. In monarchy we have said, for example in England, we have a queen or a king, that is one as the head of state. In dictatorship, we have a dictatorship or rather the autocracy. A dictatorship, like for example the one that was in Germany. In Germany, we had the type of this government, the dictatorship, where we have only one person who normally rules, and he does not consult. We have others that are ruled by the few individuals. Oligarchy, we have so many governments. We have oligarchy. We have the junta. So this is the government where we have few individuals or rather few rulers who are ruling. The rulers is all. The people who normally rule, all of them. Everybody participate in the government. And in this category, where we have only one, we have democracy. Democracy is where, you have said, is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we said in this government, a ruler consult. So this type of government where all citizens rule, it is known as the democracy. So in the democracy, we have two types of democracy. We have the direct democracy, and we have the representative. For example, where you have somebody representing you. So this is basically the summary of the types of the governments that we have. So let us see the forms of state government. When you talk of the state government, it's good you know these governments. Now, the forms of state government in a state, or rather in a country, they take a certain form. So let us see these forms of state government. One, we have the oligarchy. Oligarchy is a rule by a group of elite families. When you talk of the elite families, this is a few individual in a certain family who are rich, the educated. So this government where we have a group of elite families that rule, it is known as the oligarchy. And it is ruled by a few. The word is a few. It is ruled by a few. And look at the summary we said, it is ruled by a few. We have the aristocracy. The aristocracy, it is the rule, is that form of state government where it is ruled by a small group of land owning or wealthy individuals. The wealthy individual, the rich individuals. And these rich individuals, they are aristocrats. They are usually called the nobles. This one was in Europe. It was in Europe. We have another form of state that actually we have in Kenya. In Kenya, we have the Republic. Talk of the Republic of Kenya. The Republic of Kenya is a form of state government. And this republic is where our citizens participate in government by either electing leaders to represent their ideas. They elect some MPs, the members of parliament, the senators, to go and present them. So this type of government where we have a republic, where you have there is citizens participating in government by a regular election is known as the republic. We have another form of state government, the monarchy. The monarchy is a leadership by one person. And this one is it is characterized by hereditary, or rather the leadership is passed through the family. It is passed through the family, the monarchy. Constitutional monarchies limits the powers by the constitution or the parliament. In a case where we have the constitutional monarchies, it is a form of state government where they have a constitution that allows the monarchies, or rather limits the power of this one person by the constitution or the parliament. We have the theocracy. As the name suggests, theo means God, and the theocracy is a type of government. Now, the theocracy, this is a rule by the church. It is a state government where the rule comes from the church or by the priest. Initially, it was by God. It is God who rules. For example, the one that was in Israel. There is no separation of the church and the state. The church and the state is the same because it is a theocratic, a nation where, or a state where God is the ruler. Democracy is another form of state government. In the democracy, all citizens share the same role in government. In other words, we say that it is the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's the government of the people in this case. And all the citizens, they share the same role in the government. They have their freedom, they have their rights. We have another form, and this form, it is known as the tyrant, or rather dictatorial. This one is a form of state government where a single person, the word is a single person, who takes full control of the government and holds all the power himself. Common for the tyrant to abuse, it is common for any tyrant to abuse their power. The reason why they can abuse their power, it is only one person, and there is no any room for consultation, unlike in the democracy. So this type of government is known as the tyrant government. So this one comes to the end of the lesson. And before we end the lesson, I want us to see or to have some assignment. I want to give you assignment so that you can go and try for the next class that we shall discuss. And this is, you attempt the following question. Number one, you give the reasons why history is known as a living subject. Why do you think history is known as a living subject? I said this one at the mention of the topic. Number 2, lastly, you name 3 types of government. Name any 3 types of government, and this is 3 marks. So this one brings to the end of the lesson 2, and it has been my joy